This is a tutorial to make a couple of different lightsabers out of just scrap parts that I had lying around. I had a few ideas that I wanted to try out and see how they look, so I thought I'd give them a shot. The first lightsaber I'm going to do is sort of based on the one that Qui-Gon Jinn had in the first episode. It's the one that has the rubber grip on the inside of the tube, so I thought I'd try to do one of those. And what I'm going to use for that is a 1.5 inch metal sink pipe. I got this at a Lowe's. I cut it off about 10 inches from the flange end. And a 1.25 inch plastic extension tube. I got this in the same aisle as the metal extension tube, but it's 1.25 inch instead of 1.5 inch. And I cut the flange part off. It's just long enough to fit from the part where it narrows on the other extension pipe all the way to the end. You're going to need some sump pump tube. This is about $2 a foot, and you'll need about a foot of it. And a lawn sprinkler head. This will cost you about $3. You can get it at any garden center, or I found this in a Lowe's. The first thing you want to do is mark the sections that are going to be cut out. So I did that in marker. You're going to cut the whole side here off and make some cutouts around the inside here. And you're going to use a Dremel tool to go ahead and cut those all out. After you've used your Dremel tool to cut everything out, it should look something like this. The next thing you're going to do is take your sump pump tube and slide it down over top of that 1.25 inch piece of pipe. If you couldn't find black tube and you need to paint it like I did, you want to do that now before you assemble everything. Once you have this slid down over there and it's nice and tight, you're going to take it and slide it inside the body, and it really fits in there really tight, so you're going to have to work it in, but you want to shove it in all the way until it's covering this entire hole. For the butt cap on my lightsaber, I'm going to use this sprinkler head, and what I'm going to do is unscrew the top off, save this part because you can use that for other sabers if you want, but the part you want for this saber is this thing, this round part at the end. This end cap, the very end part, screws off. You want to save this part. This long thing in the middle, you don't need that, so you can set that aside. But this little round part screws back into the cap, and this is what you're going to use for your butt cap. Once you have your grip inside the body of your lightsaber, you're going to take the cap from that sprinkler head and glue it onto the butt end. And then to finish it, you're going to take a short piece of tubing and glue it on the inside of these inserts. Then just glue a power button on and your lightsaber is finished. This is another lightsaber that I made from just pieces of scrap that I had lying around. It looks a little bit like the lightsaber that Plo Koon used. It's not entirely accurate, but it looks pretty good. The first thing I'm going to do is take a piece of PVC pipe that I have left over. This is 1.25 inch diameter, and it's about 3, maybe 4 inches long. And a scrap of that 1.25 inch extension pipe that I had left over. And I'm going to put these together like that. Now I'm going to have to wrap some tape around there so it fits nice and tight in there, and then glue it in. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. The next thing I did was take a short piece of sump pump tube and slide that over top of the narrow end. Now I'm going to take this little short piece of 1.25 inch PVC pipe, it's about 1.5 inches long, and I'm going to fit it over top of here like this. The next thing I did was take one of the rubber gaskets that I had left over from my double-ended Darth Maul lightsaber and put that on the end here. This is going to be my emitter end. Now for the butt end, one option would be to look around and see if you can find a sink faucet handle that fits on there. It looks real nice. I didn't have any time to do that, so I just hunted around my house and found the cap to a mouthwash bottle, which just happens to fit on there really nice, so I'm going to go ahead and glue that on. The next step is to paint the entire lightsaber with a chrome silver paint. And this is the finished lightsaber. I just dressed it up a little bit. I put an O-ring here for decoration, This is a really thin section of tubing that I cut into sections and glued on there so that it circles all the way around and colored them blue. I put the power buttons towards the back of the grip on this lightsaber, and that way you turn it on with your little finger while you're using it. This is another lightsaber. It's made from scraps that I had just laying around, a couple pieces of pipe, some tubing. This is part of that sprinkler head. So that turned out pretty good. This is left over from that 1 1/4 inch drain pipe that I used for the Qui-Gon Jinn lightsaber. So what I'm going to do is cut this off at a 45-degree angle right here, and then save both of these pieces. And once I got that cut off, I'm going to go ahead and stick it back on the other end like this. The next thing I did is take a scrap piece of tubing and just slide it up over the end. Now I had a piece of 1 1/2 inch tubing left over from that Qui-Gon saber, so I slid that up on the end. The next thing you want to do is paint the front part chrome silver and finish it up by gluing a couple of power buttons on. Thank you for watching this tutorial. If you make any of the lightsabers that I've shown you, make sure that you film them and post them on YouTube. Let us all see.